Action, baby. We're back on the 56 this week. Cal put a little money into the car this week. We got some fuel lines and a bunch of AN fittings here. We're gonna run the fuel lines up from the that Holly pump and the fuel filter that we installed a couple episodes ago. Get this regulator mounted to the tunnel rim, and then we've got 2 Edelbrock carbs here that we've got to rejet. We won't be doing that in this episode, but hopefully in the next couple we'll be able to get those on, button up a few things, and we're going to work on trying to get this car running here pretty soon. In the episode where we mounted these up, I didn't realize, but the outlet on the fuel pump is just a little bit lower. So luckily, so that we don't have to drill more holes in this frame, what we're gonna do is just loosen the clamp and slide this pump up a little bit so that the outlet and the inlet on the filter are level across from each other. So we're just going to loosen this clamp up, and we're going to slide it down on the pump. Hope it slides. Seems to be moving a little bit. That's much better. So that's with the clamp slid down on it a little bit more. That gives us enough room, or gives us the height difference that we were looking for. So that's how we're going to run it. My dad's already went ahead and ran this is a -10 AN line right into the pump, because that's what size fitting is on our fuel cell. We're cutting it down to -8. Yep, -8 AN. So we're gonna put our straight fittings in the outlet of the fuel pump, inlet and outlet of the fuel filter. Then we'll cut our little piece here. I'll show you how to put those fittings on a piece of braided AN line. And then we're going to run it all the way up to the front, and then we can lower this down and get started on the mounting the regulator. So with these fittings in here, the way I always cut them, I just kind of take a measurement from the back part of these. We're working at 3 3/4, so I'll probably just cut one at 4 inches because there's that bend in there, and then we should be good. So now that Cal ended the video while I was still talking, come on back here. I was saying that we got soft jaws for this vise. They're just aluminum pieces that go here. And they got the different notches in them for these AN lines. That way we don't scuff them up when we're putting the line in them. So when you take these fittings apart, this is what you'll have, your barbed end, and then I don't know what you'd call this, your collar. So I always get these soft jaws close to the edge here. And we'll clamp this in. Don't want to go crazy tight, just snug it up. Then we've got to cut our braided line here. If you've never cut this braided line, what we like to do here in Loud and Ugly Garage, everybody does stuff differently. I understand that. We like to put tape on it, and then we cut in the center of where we place our tape. And then that way it keeps it from fraying as much. Then you peel your tape off and you're able to slide it into the collar, and then that's when you press the barb into it. We use some Sil Glide with some lubricating stuff on these threads just so it helps bury itself into the rubber inside this line. So the piece of hose that we needed was 4 inches long, so I'll measure from the end here. We'll just put a little mark. So we'll use some Gorilla Tape here. We've got our mark there. I'll just kind of eyeball this and put the tape centered up on it. And we just wrap this piece around a couple times. Like I said, this is just so when you cut it, it doesn't fray, because then it makes it extremely hard to move it around and get it into the collar. don't know if you could hear that, but somebody just slowed down, did a burnout outside our house, so that's cool. Props to you, whoever that was. If you watch the video, right on, we dig it. Do that more. Our neighbors love it. So after you cut it, just peel your tape off, and you want to blow these out really good. We do this again before we install it on the car, but I like to minimize any risk of anything getting in the fuel lines. So then you press it in the back side. You can see it's right up against the flange there. So we can clamp it in our vise. But then we're going to put some of the Sil Glide on here. Alright. Alright. Alright, then you want to use these fancy line wrenches, I guess, so it doesn't scuff up the aluminum on here. So this is our little baby fuel line here. We got the one side in, it's all ready to go. We're going to put this next collar on here. Show you how easy it is. Boom. There it is. You can see it seated right up against there. I'll put this in the vise. Now we've got both fittings on there. Blow it out again. Don't want any of those little metal pieces or the rubber getting in your fuel. Well, we got pretty lucky. It does fit directly to the back side of this and the back side of that. So we're gonna have to loosen this up just a little bit so we have some play to get the threads started. We have got that crappy little line designed and put in and tightened. It's good to go. Everything up until here is ready to rock. So we've got this big long line now we're going to run a straight fitting off of, and we're going to route it throughout the frame. We'll show you how we're going to do that. We got some little rubber, I think they're like P-clamps is what they're called, that go on the frame here that hold the line. That way they're not chafing on anything. And then we'll mount that regulator up under the hood. We've got the Anaconda wrapped up on the floor here. This is the long piece we're going to run from the back to the front. This is a tape from the first cut we made on it. So that way you got half, that's why we cut in the center of the tape, is so that you've got half on the other side, half on this side, and then you don't have to worry about them fraying as much, because these things are kind of fun to work with. They like to fray on you. Been a while since everybody's seen this, but this is a motor that we did actually have running on that test stand last year at some point. So it does run, it's ready to go. We just got to get this fuel hooked up to it, get the carbs on there. We went with a different radiator, so we're going to be putting an aluminum radiator in here and retrofitting it into our little core support that we built for it. So we've got a lot of work ahead of us to get this thing running, but that is the end goal here. So next step is mounting this regulator. We're not going to run carb spacers or anything on this. I think with the carbs we're running, we don't need them. So we're going to make a little extension plate off of these two intake bolts for the original regulator plate to mount up to. It's exactly how we've got it in the 41 Willys of my grandpa's. So we're going to kind of replicate that design, and the regulator will sit about there. Our fuel line's going to come up from the firewall by the trans dipstick and plug right in there. So it'll be a nice clean look. So while I was cutting the fuel line, Dad was making a custom bracket here out of aluminum. Drilled a hole in it for weight reduction because this is like an absolute monster of a race car. Just kidding. So we're going to bolt this up and we'll show you what it looks like in the car. Put a little Loctite on those so they don't fly off. So here's the regulator bracket. Show them what it looks like on there. Perfect. Goes right into the intake bolts, and then this is our feed line all the way from the back. Today was pretty successful. We got those fuel lines made and ran all the way up with the regulator mounted. Dad came in just at the right time. He was gone for the day, but came back and he whipped out that regulator mount while I was cutting the last bit of the lines and blowing them out, tightening all the fittings up. So that's all set. We've got the fuel cells mounted. We've got everything like that. Everything mechanically is there. We've got some wiring to do to get some power back to that fuel pump. That way we can shoot some fuel up to the motor. But with that being said, there's still a lot of work to be done on this car. We've got plenty of things to do in the next episode, so stay tuned and who knows what we'll be working on next. Thanks for watching.